How's everyone doing? We're back at it today. Today we're going to be in a completely different ecosystem again. We're going to be out in the marshland today, scouting in an area that I have scouted before, but going to a new area in that area. So it's a large area, so just slowly picking off the pieces. Very thick cover, even thicker than some of the places we were already in certain spots. So it's difficult and time-consuming to scout, and it's difficult to get back to. A lot of the two tracks you can't really drive back out to. So right now I'm cruising down a two track on foot because I came to a giant sinkhole that I didn't want to go through. So we're going to take a little walk down the two track here for a couple minutes, and then get to the point where we're going to head in. We're going to go scout out a little bedding point in the marsh around that ends in a marsh. And then we're going to hopefully find the trails coming into the point and then mark those and then get out of here real quick. So I've never been here before. This will be really fun. You guys can kind of see how and what I do when I go into an area that I've never been to before and how I start to figure it out and break it down. Hope this helps you guys. Thanks a lot for watching. So right now we're just cruising down the two track to get to the area that we want to actually scout. While we're doing this, we'll look for trails, look for big tracks in the two track like we did last time. And as I say that, we got, actually this is a fawn track here. As you can see, look at that, it's about as big as my two fingers. That's pretty cute to see though. So, little crossing here, coming out of the thick. I'm guessing bedding. Probably going back into other bedding here. So, not the big buck track that we're after, but cool to see a fawn track. You can see over here, very marshy. Maybe people might even call it wasteland. There's a lot of different plants out here, a lot of different food for the deer to eat, a lot of different berries, lots of water, lots of thick cover. There is some hunter pressure out here, as everywhere in Michigan, but because of it being so thick and wild, it does keep a lot of people out, even though they know these are ideal areas. When you only have so many days to hunt, do you really want to spend those days trekking way out into the middle of nowhere, or do you want to go somewhere close that you feel comfortable in and things like that? So that does help keep some of the pressure out of here. It looks like we're coming up to a big opening now, which will be pretty cool to see what we got here. This is a big trail here. You see, this is this beat coming through, going up through, right where it should be, right on this edge here. So we'll remember this and mark it on the map on the way back. It's beautiful out here though. As you can see over here, we got a big blowout. That trail was running right here. I'm guessing runs along this edge and goes back into there. I wouldn't be surprised if they're coming right onto this two track to graze. It's got a lot of grasses on it. That's one thing about hunting out here, there's so much grass and food and everything everywhere. Prime bedding, prime water, everything they could want. Here's the end of the meadow here. There's a couple more big trails bursting through the middle of the meadow. I looked it up on the map. It looks like they're going back to another little bedding island here in the marsh, adjacent to the one we're going to check now. So that's some good info there. I'm gonna have to recheck, but it didn't look like they were crossing the 2-track. They were just coming up to it. So they might be coming out of there to feed, like I was suggesting earlier, on the grasses right here on the edge of the 2-track. Now it just got really thick in here on the right side, which I'm guessing is where they're bedding in those pines. Got a little shady nest in there somewhere. And a couple of little tracks down here. Looks like maybe a smaller buck. Another hot summer day today. Out here in the middle of the day again, hottest part of the day. Hoping to slip into these areas while them deer are forced to lay down by the heat. They're off in their little cool areas laying down, but we got some action here in the trail. Actually looks like kind of a decent sized buck track there running. And got some activity here. Not really sure exactly why. Oh, I bet this is why. But they're running down this. Well, look at this. Big trail in the sand here. Look at this huge trail coming through the sand. Coming right down this ditch here. This is a prime example of places deer will move out here in these marshes. This looks like an old dried up stream bed. And as you can see, they just got a massive trail in here. And they're cruising this old worn out, dried out stream bed. Alright. As hard as it is not to follow this trail right now, we're going to mark this on the map and come back for it later. But this is a highway. Only because it's not what we came out here to do. We got to stick to our plan. Keep knocking off checks off the box. And put the whole plan together. Try to stay focused when you're out here. It's so fun following the trails. You can just get lost doing that. And have a great day and have a fun day. And that brings me to a good talk I wanted to have about why I wear the hat. Some people might have seen the big hat and wondered why I wear it. Well, obvious reasons are it protects me from the sun and bugs and whatnot. Maybe keeps me a little cool with the shade. But one of the main reasons I wear it when I'm buck scouting is it's a big thing on my head, a big brim. So if I'm walking through the woods and I'm chasing deer trails, maybe scouting an area like today that I've never been to, and I'm following trails, maybe I've seen a couple buck tracks, I don't really know what I'm doing, I don't know the area yet, I don't know where he is yet. this hat can help me find the right trails. And the reason being is, when you're looking for a big deer, you're looking for a trail that's big enough for him to move down. He's got a big rack. He can't go down every trail that the does go down. He can't go down every trail the yearlings go down. He's got to travel a certain highway. So when you're newer to scouting like me, and you start to find these areas, you'll see these trails that are super wide and you walk through them in the middle of nowhere. And when you're wearing this hat, you can kind of imagine you're a buck moving through there. And you'll think, yeah, this is where he's moving through. Because he can't be banging those antlers. You're looking for a big buck. So we just came to a real pretty area here I want to show you guys. Isn't that beautiful? Just look at those greens. It's like walking through a living painting. Absolutely gorgeous. Alright, we're gonna keep moving. That looks like frog paradise. Look at we got some flowers coming in here. That's really beautiful to see. We'll keep cruising down our trail though. Alright guys, we're getting close to where I want to be. And another big meadow blowout here. This is a completely different type of meadow. This is a lot drier, full of ferns. We got some pines. We got a thick pine in the middle. I'm guessing there's a bed in there probably. Not gonna go to that right now either. We're gonna keep cruising down the track a little bit further. Definitely not a lot of trucks on the trail out here. This trail's pretty bad. Like I said, I left my truck back there. I'd rather not risk it when I'm by myself. Nothing will ruin your scouting trip like getting stuck. So pull over, walk a little bit further, who cares? It's better for you anyways. Oh, got some predator sign here. Pretty cool to see. Coyote. Alright, we're back on trail. We're moving by that possible buck house, and it looks like the two track that we're on actually moves quite close to it. So we might pop over there and look and see. We're definitely watching for a trail going off into it. I'm starting to see buck tracks already right here in the two track. Now we're looking, right now, we're looking for a rub or anything in the trail here, or his trail going over there, which is right here. You see this massive trail going back. So we're gonna walk off in there. So if you see from a distance, this is just a little tree island right in the middle of a field. You can see this big trail going into it. So I call these buck houses. Try to sneak in there. Who knows, maybe we'll bump one. You can see their trail coming through. here. See, they're going up here. See a lot of old beaver sign in here. That looks like possibly the bed right there. Not a lot of sign under here. There's a lot better areas around here, so I'm guessing they're not really forced to use this bed as much as if we were in the middle of farm country. This would be ideal. Alright, let's push out of here. Not seeing the sign that I want. Not every one of these little islands is going to be a buck house, but you always want to check one out just in case. Oh, the smell out here is just so wonderful in the summer. It's like walking through a giant incense garden. All the different plants. So many plants out here I've never seen before. So many different mini ecosystems that I didn't know existed in Michigan. You get out here and start walking around, you see stuff that you wouldn't even really believe is Michigan. And they're all just separate little areas, ecosystems, you know. Even if you don't find the sign you're looking for, which does happen, and then you get all hot and sweaty and wasted your time because you put off your chores or your work or whatever you got going on, didn't hang out with the kids or the wife, and you went buck scouting and you didn't find what you're after. It could be discouraging, but just know that helps you. You found out where they're not. Keep plucking away at an area till you break it down. If you break down the whole area and you still don't find the sign, then you're just in the wrong spot. Keep moving. The next adventure is always right around the corner. These bucks are everywhere from the city to the middle of the forest. So there's no shortage of spots. There's no shortage of areas. There's no reason for all the negativity and such. Plenty of deer, plenty of area, plenty of space for everybody. What might be lacking is your dedication. Maybe your skills, maybe your discipline. Maybe you're just not putting the miles in to get into the areas that you need to get into. Don't let that discourage you. I've been through the same process. I'm not one to say that I'm there. My skills are always getting better every year. And that's actually why I love deer scouting. Because every year you learn more. You understand more about the areas that you hunt. And then all those skills help you go to areas that you don't hunt. So just know it's a game, have fun. Don't be hard on yourself. And just keep trying. Always stay safe out here. Don't push yourself past your limits. Everybody's got a different limit. We're seeing a lot of trail tracks in the trail right here. Just like all the deer are different. You know, every person's different as well. can see we're filtering back over into here. Trail's coming in. We're moving out onto a peninsula that juts out into the marsh. That's the idea here, a bedding point. And we're gonna poke around on that and look where the buck sign is. Maybe look for a couple setups real quick and then get out of there as quick as we can. Maybe hit another area if we're lucky, or hit that area on the way back. If not, we'll make sure and know to check that area for sure, because that one trail we found was massive going up that ditch. As you can see, we're coming into the forest now a little bit more, thankfully, because it is hot in that sun. Can't tell you how hot it is. I know these bucks are laying down, they got no choice. Now we're coming into some big white oaks up here. I'm sure this is a feeding area at times. Even though we're right in the middle of the 2-track, this is, like I said, way out there, and we've already been past multiple trees over in the 2-track and whatnot. People don't drive out here. People don't cut these trails out on purpose. So just let it be wild. You can say this is an old camp up here. Which is kind of sad to see. A lot of the old camps in Michigan are empty every year now. No one really comes out and hunts anymore at camps. A lot of people don't like state land for whatever reason, but there's a lot of open area out here. I like the challenge of it. You will have unfortunate experiences for sure. You will come into contact with people that are not friendly. You'll get stuck. Your car is going to break down out here. All kinds of things are going to happen that make it not fun. But that's just part of the challenge. It's all just part of the game. Push through the adversity. Keep coming back for more until you get that buck. Thought I heard a deer pop. I think it was just the wind though. But I was just thinking to myself, I think we're getting out there now. I think you can almost see the peninsula on this side and the peninsula on that side. We got some acorns on the trail here. This is definitely a big stand of oaks right here. Just checked the map and we're right where we want to be. This big grove of oaks is at the end of the trail, just about. It looks like the trail might actually go all the way out to the bedding point, which I guess is an optimum. But that's something we'll have to deal with. We don't have to hunt here. If we scout this out and maybe we find a lot of hunter sign, or maybe we don't find the right buck sign right here. You can see the edge of the peninsula right here, and then you can also see another area far off. So my guess is they're, depending on how high this grass actually is, what it is, they're coming into the trees and bedding out in there, or bedding right on the edge of here in the trees. With some possible nest intermixed in here in the trees, depending on the shade. But it's looking like we might have our first trail here. You can see the ground's torn up. You can see their trail. can see the trail going off into Never Never Land here. That's where they're bedded right now. I'm not gonna go out there because they're out there laying in the water, trying to stay cool. So that's what we're looking for. Not that specific trail yet, but that's the idea. Now we're looking for that with better area. You can see the 2 tracks dying off here now, which is what we want. It's looking more like a deer trail now. You can see what we have here is, those are cattails, they're just not very big. It looks really dry right now. Got cattails right here, but they're not the 6-foot cattails that we want. They're the 2-foot cattails. So keep pushing through here. I think we're all the way out to the point now. Another good thing about coming out this time of year is the water is usually as dry as it's ever going to be. So if you do want to be adventurous and push into a wet area, it might be a lot easier this time of year. But remember, after the fall rains and whatnot, it's going to be completely different when you get back in there. A massive white oak right here. Nice view out here. You can see way out there. See them cattails waving way out there? That's where he's gonna be laying. Alright. So that's promising. It's also looking like we got a trail right here, I'm sure, heading out there. We also have a cherry tree right here. That's just full of cherries. And also look at all the blueberries, guys. Just another example of God's glory providing for us. Look at all them blueberries. I'm gonna munch on a couple of these real quick. Alright. Hard to stop eating those. There's a trail out there. Honestly, I don't really see a trail right here heading out there. You definitely see the cattails though. But we can see this massive trail running along the edge. So look where this trail is, guys. It's going right through here, creeping along. And we got the edge. It's literally right here. We got the edge of the woods. We got the edge of the blowout. massive bed right here. Yeah. A giant bed under the pines right here. You can see another one back there. Nice cool spot. I just peeked up out in the meadow and I'm starting to see the cattails and whatnot we're after. Alright, here's the trail, guys. So it wasn't where we thought it was, it's right here. And it's a big one. So we're definitely not gonna walk this out there. But if you look, this trail goes right out here and way out there. There's a massive set of cattails. You can see them cattails. That's where he's headed. So we'll mark this on the map real quick. And we'll get out of here. Look around for some rubs real quick. I don't see any, but it's a big trail coming up out of there for sure. And like I said, there's all those cherries there. And obviously all the blueberries I was eating, which I had to pull myself away from. Which here's another one. So the unfortunate part of today's trip is the horse slides are absolutely horrible. Absolutely terrible. So that's not fun. Alright, we marked that cattail trail on the map, and as we pushed down the trail a little bit further, we came into a big white pine grove. And as everyone knows, the deer love bedding in these. It's up on a little hill at the end of this island. So I wouldn't be surprised if them deer lay right up in there either. It's midday. It's pretty shady in there. Pretty cool. Oh, there's nothing like the smell of a white pine forest in the summertime. It's the cleanest smell there is. You can see all these big white pines. The trail is starting to wrap around the end of the point. Alright, we cruised on the trail for a little bit longer, guys. Big cherry tree right here. I see this little opening poking through, going out to the marsh. So we're gonna go over here and check this out. Got a big trail coming here. Looks like they're using it right now. That goes along the edge. I want to see if they're going out here. I want to see if they're going out here and heading out to this bedding. This trail's definitely getting used. So we got two trails coming together here. This trail's going up that way. Here's the trail I'm looking for. Trail going down. Alright. You can see we got a trail coming this way. And there's a trail coming out here into the cattails. Right out here, some more cattails. If you look at this, might be a little hard for us to see on here, but this edge over here goes around, wraps around, comes around over to here in front of us. It's a small blowout full of cattails. Look at this hawk. That was pretty cool flyover from the marsh hawk. She's cruising back over here now. Maybe she'll come closer again. It's a harrier. I don't know, it's a pretty big bird. It might have been an osprey. This is the trail I'm looking for. Sorry about all the interruptions today, guys. I'm getting eaten alive by horseflies. That and sweating to death. But we're gonna try to cruise this trail here along the outside. Okay. I'm gonna walk this outside trail here and look for trails that shoot out into those cattails. And hopefully we find a big, major runway that we can just tell dominates all the other trails. So far we have found a couple trails going out there, but nothing that's just like, this is the one yet. So we're gonna keep pushing through here. Just right on the outside. There's like 4 foot tall, 5 foot tall, 6 foot tall willow whips here. Right on the other side is the cattails and the beaver marsh. And then we got this trail right here, and then the woods right here. This is the trail you guys want. It's a hard thing to understand because we're so used to being trained to hunt into the trees, but you actually want to hunt this trail from inside the trees, facing out towards the marsh. Which is counterintuitive because our first thought is to set up in the nicest, biggest oak grove we can, right out in the biggest, nicest open tree where everything's perfect for us. And all that deer sign's in there, but those deer are coming in there at night. Now we're getting around, and I don't know if you guys can see it, but the cattails are a lot closer. So hopefully we don't jump anybody right here. Definitely looking for a big trail going out right here. Which I think I see one right here. Faint one, yeah. You can see it going there. You can see it going there. You can see the big track down here. Okay, we're gonna mark this on our map right here. This is a little, if you look right here, there's a little open area. Look at these blueberries, guys. Look at all these blueberries. I've never seen so many wild blueberries in my life. This is like being in a blueberry orchard. Nature's goodness. That'll keep you going on your hike though. Delicious. Just eating them by the handful. Alright, finally stopped myself from eating blueberries. We got another trail heading out here, and these cattails are probably only 10 yards out, maybe 20, well, more than 10 yards. I'd say maybe like 20 or 30 yards. I can't believe how many blueberries were there. I could have stood there and picked blueberries all day. They're everywhere. Just look at them. So beautiful to see that, just wild blueberries. I mean, there are so many out here, they're everywhere. Here's a big trail, guys. This is the trail we've been looking for. Got a possible track right here. Huh? Is that what we're looking for, guys? There you go. There's a big boy. Alright, if you look right here, here's this trail. I'll back up a little bit. You can see his trail going right through here. Right out to the cattails, which are right out there. Alright, we'll mark this one on the map. There's the buck rub. Alright, so we finally found the trail we're looking for, guys. Did you see how we did that? We worked through the different trails. Some were lighter, some were better, some were worse. But this one's obviously the one we're looking for. Or one of the ones we're looking for. So, let's check out the area to give you guys kind of an idea of which trail is the trail. So if we see here, got a nice big rub on this pine, right about 4 inches around. That's marking this trail, going back into here. And that rub is coming up out of the marsh. So I know when I was a younger scout, that would have confused me. I probably would have thought it was coming down the trail this way, but if you know that trail's going out to the cattails, then it's obvious that's marking his bed out there in those cattails. So let's definitely get this one marked down on the map and keep moving. I can definitely see why that buck's living here. He's got his cattails right there. He's got his water right there. Got a giant white oak right here. All these blueberries right here. All these bushes that you guys can see right here in this area are blueberries, and they're all completely loaded. I could spend all day here picking berries. Well, we don't have time for picking berries when we're hunting bucks, do we? So let's keep moving, keep pushing, hopefully find another one of these obvious buck trails, maybe on the other side, or we nail down this one here and we know that's where he's sleeping. Alright, here's a massive trail, guys. One of the great things about hunting in Michigan is you find these ancient deer trails that are just pounded down into the earth. Like literally, if every deer was killed off the earth, this trail would still be here. So we're gonna follow this one over. Kind of heading out the same way. You can see way out in the distance there's a beaver lodge. Bucks and beavers. Alright, it's looking like that giant trail just kind of heads out to the same area. It's right next door to where that buck trail was. Now we gotta kind of do some orienting. We got another big buck coming up here. That tree's definitely getting nailed every year. I think we're working out to the tip here, so this whole tip could be the bedding area as well. We got another big trail busting off over here. Let's check this. Oh yeah, got a big trail coming out here. I'll mark this on the map real quick. You can see he's coming out of here. Looks like there's actually a trail through here along the side as well. I'm gonna get this marked real quick and then keep cruising again. Just check the map again to orient myself. We're doing what I want. We're working on the edge perfectly. We're not even into the prime core area yet, but as we've been seeing, the sign's starting to ramp up a little bit. Once we get to the end here, I'm expecting a lot of trails right off the tip going out into the marsh. So all these trails we're finding on the way are just bonus. But good to know because we definitely want to be marked out where he is. And they got a little tree house right here. And then if they want to leave that little tree house, they can bounce out to the cattails as well. If you look through the trees over here, you can barely see the other side of the peninsula. Still just walking through bush after bush of blueberries. Still working this trail right on the edge. It's very faint. It's looking like we got a trail coming back here. Right on the edge of this. I'm not going to push back there any further, but I'm sure this is a bedding trail going out there. Still following the trail along the edge here to You can see we got a big trail coming through here. We got a big trail pushing back on that edge. There's like a little jut out right here. This right here is a little bump out of big trees, and there's two big trails right on the edge of that. So I'm guessing they're going out to the tip of that, and they probably got a way in out there, and they're bedding in those trees and in those cattails right there. So we're not gonna go out there. The deer aren't gonna move unless you get right up on them. It's too hot. So they probably hear me walking around out here. Just think I'm another deer. See the blowout here, and then the point goes out over there. Huge trail out here. Alright guys, we might have found the one we've been after. You can see there's a big trail going right here. And it's going right out to that point that I pointed out before with those other trails. They must be bedding out there heavy. This is like a three-way intersection right here though. So we're gonna mark this on our map. I think we could kill one right here in one of these trees. Or back in this tree here. Super exciting find right here. I just checked the map and how this is lining up is exactly like I described. They're all pushing out to that little point there that I didn't want to push into. But there's a massive amount of trails right here, all heading that way. So we're gonna keep pushing through here. It's getting a little marshy. Starting to see deer tracks in the trail. This is the closest water I've seen right here too. So I'm sure they're coming here to drink. You can see this trail right here. Big trail. Heading right that way. Right out to this bedding point. That trail just came out on that edge. And now we're back up into the forest. We're getting into the area that we came to actually scout now, which, as you can see, the signs picking up here, so that shows that I did good on my web scouting. Like I was saying in the other video, always try to knock down as much of the work as you can with your computer. And then get out here, because it's hard enough out here, even if you know exactly where you're going to and exactly what you're trying to do. It's very hard to find these areas and just to physically get to them. So always remember that. But as you can see here, we're out on the tip of the point now, and this is a massive bed right here, guys. This bed is 20 yards across, but if you see here, it's like a bedding ring. The bed comes all the way down here, all the way down here, all the way down here, all the way there, all around that tree. That's why this is all pushed down like this. This has probably been rubbed, but it's dead now. You can see the giant trail here going out into the cattails. I'll walk over there to show you guys. And there's our fresh deer poo. Got another huge bed right here. We're coming out here. You can see their trail just kind of wanders out there. And this is just a giant cattail marsh. So I'll step back a little bit so you guys can see. Huge bed, huge bedding area. The bedding circle back over here around that bush. So who knows how many deer are laying here in the winter or whatever. But so we're gonna keep pushing here, get back on the map, look at the points that I wanted to get to, figure out where I am, and then go knock those off one by one, and then circle back to the truck. You can see this other trail going out to the island over here. So what we're going to do now is follow the opposite edge of the peninsula back towards the truck, and then look for trails going off that way, and then mark those off with notes, and then get up out of here because we basically found what we wanted to find. If we can get out of here kind of quick and I still got enough energy, we might bust down that dried up stream bed trail that we found, because that was the hottest trail that I've seen yet out here. So let's keep pushing and hopefully find some more big buck sign. It's always so much fun when you're e-scouting at home on your computer, and instead of playing video games or wasting your time on Facebook or whatever else you might be doing, you're wasting your time staring at a map. And after a couple hours of that, you narrow down where you think might be the best areas. And then you finally get out here and find out that you were right. That's a great feeling. You can see another big area over here. This is a big trail coming right back to that bed. That bedding point is definitely the main thing out here. There's tons of white oaks out here. There's tons of blueberries out here. There's all the cattails and water they could want. So as far as food, water, shelter, they got it all out here. Another bed right here. Some more beds over here. This looks like a really big old trail here. Oh yeah, look at this. It's about 20 yards over from where we were. But you can see this is the big trail going down. And they're bedding right down here. Look at these. Beds down here, bed back in there in the pines, bed right here. And they got their escape route into the marsh if they need it. But if you look at this, this is a slight crest up. Our predominant wind is northwest. That wind's blowing right over that hill, down onto these beds right here on this edge. And look at where the main bed is, way under there. That buck could be laying all the way up under there. and you never see him. And he can get up and stand the other way. There's a lot of trucks coming into this bed too. Look at that bed right there, guys. Isn't that cool? He's laying right there. That's a big bed too. I could lay in there. And look at this ancient trail coming up out of here. Up. I didn't want to crawl through that bed, so I went up the hill, and now I'm going to come around, try to get on the other side of that trail, because you can see there's obviously a trail going through that bed. Those bucks will crawl up under there. Look at this, what we got here, guys. We got some buck scat for sure. Now we're on the other side of that bed. You can see there's another big bed right here. And the trail just goes on. So that's where 100% I think he's bedding. He's bedding right down over that edge where nobody would ever think, under those dry pines, those white pines right there. And then he's got a trail that goes along the outside of the edge here. And some of them beds you can only get in if you go down and crawl under that branch. But you can see right down here's another big bed. Right up there under that pine bough, another big bed. Come down into here and look at this. I mean, you can just see how the pine needles are just all completely packed down. I mean, look at this. It's a perfect little bed. This is really cool to see these beds under the white pines. And, I mean, if I was living out here and I was a deer, I think one of the white pine beds would be one of the places I would choose as well. They're always dry and nice and comfy, soft. No grass, no bugs or anything. So I'm going to step back and show you guys this bed. It's absolutely massive. And then let you guys get a look at it and show you what a white pine bed looks like if maybe you haven't seen one before. So you can see right here, it's just all the needles over the years, and they're just packed down, completely packed down flat. And then he's got this tree and this tree over him for the shade, a little bit of sun trickling in. And then right up here is a small hill that slowly comes down into this flat spot, and he just lays right here. If he's got to take off, if he hears danger or smells something coming from up over the hill, he just runs out here into the marsh. He's gone to that island, into them cattails. You're never going to see him. White pine bed. Alright, we're going to keep pushing. We don't need to mark every single bed out on this point because this whole area is just the bedding area. I'm surprised I didn't see a deer. My guess is it's so hot they're out there. Here's another giant one. My guess is it's so hot that they're out in the water, actually. Or they're in the thickest of the thick, the cool of the cool. Either way, my guess is on a day like today, they're by some water. But you can see even this in here. Just all, the whole area is just bedding. You can see all the deer tracks in here. They're running all through here. Looks like somebody had an old blind right here. Not a bad idea, but maybe not the best spot. Probably didn't realize they were right in the middle of the whole bedding complex. but I've done worse, I'm sure. Alright, now we're trying to follow this opposite edge back towards the truck and look for some more hot areas. Well, that was definitely the hot area. The area we had marked out on the map. Not a lot of rubs out here though, I will say that. Got a big trail over here. This actually looks like a big bed right here. Got a little deer sign in it. Looks like maybe another bed right back there. This is coming down to this big bed down here. Right over here. Right. Let's go trail through here. Another big bedding area right here. So we just came from this little point here. Now it came like a little blowout here. We got another little point here. I'm guessing we're gonna find the same thing here. Definitely seeing some bedding sign. Got some deer sign here. Definitely a big bed here. It's very cool in here. I'm so glad to be in here right now. It was so hot earlier. Bushwhacking on the outside of that trail and walking up in here, about a mile up in here. It was grueling, but now that we're in the shade of these white pines, it just goes to show you that this is where them deer are. It's so cool in here right now, right in the prime heat of the day. I mean, you could just hang out in here all day. But yeah, wow, we're seeing bed, deer sign, bed, bed's back here. Massive bed right here. Wow, this is a huge bed right here. I got a little faint trail going off into Never Never Land in case they need it. Another trail along the edge. You guys can just see the size of this bed and the white pines right here. There's a massive bed on this point. Where we are right now, we're right on the point of a peninsula. This huge bed under these white pines is right on the point. Between it and the marsh is maybe 20 yards of willow whips and whatnot, and then you go off into the grass and the cattails. So, great area to look for beds, guys. I haven't seen a ton of buck sign out here, like big buck sign. The only buck sign we saw was over off on that one trail so far. So I'm guessing a lot of these beds are doe bedding, and that's a good sign. So we know the buck sign's concentrated in one area. That's probably where he's most likely to be hanging out. We're going to keep following this peninsula around the other side to see if maybe he's got another little house somewhere. push back out here to the edge. You notice there's a big trail right here. This is the trail we're after, this trail between the marsh and the trees. That's where that big bruiser's gonna be cruising, scent checking all these beds for does. That's why these trails are here. One, it gives them a easy access right along this edge, and two, they can cruise this edge and check all the bedding areas at once. But if you see here, we're coming up on a buck rub here. I'm thinking this is his bed right here. It's a massive bed, you guys see that? He's laying right here. If you look, you can see right here these indents. That's where he's getting into his bed and he's laying down. And look over here, this is another huge bed. Looking for some more rubs in here. So he can move all around in here. Alright, we marked this big buck bed on the map and we're going to keep cruising. Probably flip it around once we get out of it and show you guys a better picture of it here. Right in there is where he's laying. You can see he's got a perfect little, almost like a little house around him. Trail coming up out of there. See, and now we're starting to see some old buck sign. Got a couple rubs here, old rub here. There's another old rub here. Got another big rub here. Alright, so we're definitely in another buck area, guys. You can see the trail coming through here. I'm gonna walk through here real quick to show you how I break this down. I'm gonna walk until I don't see any more rubs anymore. And then I'm gonna loop back through there. Try to pinpoint what he's doing. From what I'm seeing is he had that little bed that we came to right before it. He's probably laying there, gets up, rubs in those trees right next door. But we got this trail here as well. We got a big trail here going off into Never Land into the cattails. So we're gonna definitely mark this big trail going out. And then right here, I'll do a slow pan over. Big white pine here. All these trees in here are all rubbed up. You can see his trail coming up out of here. I'm gonna walk over here and check these out. But as you can see, here's a massive rub coming up out of the swamp. He's got a trail coming through here. He's got a trail coming this side. We got Licking Branch right here. See, that's all snapped off. Huge trail comes over to here, comes comes into here, and then the big trail going out into the marsh goes over to here. So he's coming up out of this marsh, coming this way, coming through these trees. He's got a giant bed right here. And then he cruises up this way. You can see his rub here. And this trail comes through here. He's got another rub here. Alright. So, right back over here's that giant trail going out. He's coming up out of this trail, funneling through these trees, rubbing in here, and then working up to this trail here. And then once he gets up in here, there's a whole bunch of trails going every which way. So he beds right here under this big pine. He beds back here into this marsh. And then back over there was where we saw those other beds. Kill him right there. There's a trail going out. Then go back a little bit and check out the tree line coming out. You can see that trail is huge going back in there. So if you look here, when he comes out, you can see all this, all that, all this, all that. But right over here, he can't see. If we were to come like this, on the right wind, I'd be right over here. One of these small trees. We might be able to get him. Awesome sign to find, guys. This is definitely a buck house right here. We're gonna mark it on the map, and then I'm gonna keep pushing down this point. We're back on the trail. This trail definitely got a lot bigger here on the outside of the marsh ever since we came into that buck house. You can see this is all torn up down here. We're gonna keep following this trail. You can see some massive rubs right here. This rub back here, guys. This is giant. We got a trail going right here. Look at that rub. Push any further back there, but there's a faint trail going right to this pine, and there's another pine right there. That could be a giant buck's. That right there. There's the faintest of faint trails and just this giant rub. But if you see, there's the faintest of faint trails out to this tree right here. that way. You can see the faintest of faint trails. Alright guys, this could be chasing a ghost. That rub is definitely old, but you can see it's rubbed every year as well. Those signpost rubs like that, they don't rub them with their antlers once they're scarred in the tree like that. They just rub their head on them, and that's why they're like that year after year. That thing is chest high. Just to kind of show you guys how high that rub is. That's a massive rub. We're gonna keep following this trail around the edge. The buck sign is really picked up in here. You can see there's old rubs in here, old rubs in here. Got a faint trail here. And now we got a big trail here, a huge trail. Some more old rubs here. I'm gonna hop on this for a second and see where it goes. I don't want to push out too far though. Alright, this trail's gonna go off into Never Never Land, into bedding. Alright, keep it moving. Mark that huge trail off into the swamp. It was definitely a lot bigger than a lot of the other trails we've seen. You can see a big trail pumping through here. Another big trail here. So as you can see through this walk, there's been certain areas where the sign is very heavily concentrated. Those are the areas we want to focus on during the seasons. Another big trail going back. Big trail pushing through here now. Another trail pushing out. Now one thing I've definitely noticed now is we've moved out of the area where the rubs were. Not seeing any more buck rubs around in here. Still definitely seeing plenty of trails, but not seeing that little kind of buck zone marked off like there was back there. So just something to keep in mind when you're out here walking, looking at the trails, interpreting the sign. Now we're coming to another area here, like I see with a nice signpost rub here. Not the biggest of rubs, but it's rubbed on every single side. And there's 3 trails that come together right here. Alright, we're still pushing down this trail along the edge. We're trying to stay as close to the edge of the marsh as we can. see this trail's definitely being used as well. Oh, these tracks are heading out this side. Yeah, look at this trail. Massive trail. Look at this thing is beat down. Comes out of these woods right here, and then it starts going out into the marsh. I'm not gonna keep following it, but that trail goes all the way out into the marsh. And that thing's a highway. I'm gonna mark that on the map for sure. Alright, mark that massive trail out into the marsh. Looked up on the map, it looks like it's heading out to an island out there in the marsh, so that's promising to find. Looks like we're back on the old logging road here for a second. We're gonna stay on this. You can see this old trail here. There's like an old blowout right here, some sort of field. Deer sign. It's definitely a big bed right there. Looks like a bed right here. It's got a rub here, rub here, rub here. I don't think this is like a dominant buck. I think this is like a satellite buck here. That's definitely a bucky. A big trail heading out here. Let me check the map real quick and see where we are. Alright, mark that trail on the map. That's a big trail out to that same island, but around the other side. So I'm not going to bushwhack out there because I already know what's out there. A little bedding complex. There's no need to go out there right now. We're going to keep working this trail along the edge and then keep looking for some more buck sign. So far it looks like we found 2 core buck areas, I believe. So that's good. Some of that buck sign looked really, really promising. Definitely from some mature deer. Like I was saying earlier, a lot of those older rubs, they don't rub with their horns anymore. They just rub them with their forehead to get them scented up. Trying to keep following this edge here. We're off trail right now. Most of the deer sign was heading back to that island over there, so we got a massive rub right here. And then right behind it, a big bed. You can see that deer's been laying there. You can see this trail coming into the bed as well. We got another trail here going off into Never Never Land. We're not going to follow it. We know where it goes. It's right behind that big bed, sitting right there with that big rub. What I've noticed is a lot of times the rubs will be right on the main trail coming up out of the marshes. And then there'll be a big buck bed right near that trail on the dry side. And he sits there and guards that trail. We're coming up on a big trail here. You can see it wind in this way. But he can lay there during the season and guard that trail and watch for does. You can see this trail's all torn up. Not really on the edge where I want to be. So I think I'm going to push over, try to get back out on that edge. Sometimes you'll get forced into the forest because it just gets too thick. Even the deer get forced in. But where them big bruisers are going to move during daylight is going to be along this edge here. As you can see, we got the big trail here. And isn't this just so beautiful with all the moss? The moss out here is just unbelievably beautiful. Just look at that. So we're back on this edge trail now, where we want to be. Now we're looking for more buck sign. Our big trail's heading out. But if you look right here, we got the forest we've been following, and then we got a little tree island right here. So I'm sure they're bedding out in that. We got an old rub there. I'm not gonna go out in there. We don't need to. But you can see the trail heading out there. Trail on the edge here. See all these down here, cranberries coming in. camera. I think that was a buck, though. I think I saw a flash of antlers. He was bedded back here, right back in here. Alright, popping out on the old logging road. There's the marsh there. We need to get on there to get back to the truck. I'm gonna cruise this 2-track back to the truck for a while, depending on how I feel when I get there. Might scout out that ditch for a minute, or we might keep rolling back to the truck. It's pretty hot, so if not, we'll have it up in the next episode for you guys. But this has been a lot of fun scouting this out. We definitely saw some excellent buck sign. Saw that big hawk. Ate a bunch of blueberries. It's an excellent day for a hike. It's hot though. Definitely had to earn this one. So we'll cruise the 2-track for a while. If I don't see anything, I'll hook back up with you guys back at the truck. Well, I think with our bushwhacking, we might have scared a big one out of there, guys. Here's some big running tracks in the trail that I'm pretty sure weren't there on the walk-in. So yeah, you can see he was running at full speed. Can't be for sure. Those look like they might be older than today. Either way, that's a big deer running. Alright, we're just gonna blaze it back to the truck. Feeling a little tired, it's pretty hot. We're on the death march right now across the barrens. Sun beating down on me. Thank God I got my hat. I don't know what I'd do without my hat. But I'll flip it around for you guys. You can check out what we're going through right now for these bucks. We're out here sweating, suffering, putting the work in, hoping it pays off big time for season. Having fun while we're doing it, getting our workout in, learning our lands, learning our plants. Couldn't be more thankful for this life. Thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus Christ. Thanks to my wife, my children, my mom, my dad, my whole family, everyone out there supporting me. I just want you to know I'm supporting you too. I hope everything works out for you. But as you can see, we're busting through the wide open meadow right now. Not an ounce of shade in sight. Hoping we make it to the other side. Finally getting back to the shade. Oh, it feels so nice. The death march is over. I think the truck's right up here on the bend, not too far, thankfully. Definitely got this blocked off pretty good back here though. Never been so happy to see the truck. That was a long, hot march, but we'll be back to scout out that dry stream bed in the next episode coming up, hopefully. That looked real promising, so I'm excited to go check that out on the map, scout it out, and then maybe come back out here and make another video for you guys.